This is a mini lesson on clauses and phrases. So you have two learning targets today. One, I can identify two types of clauses and what they do, and two, I can identify a phrase. So why are phrases and clauses important enough to learn about them? Well, knowing about clauses and phrases helps to identify where punctuation belongs in sentences. And knowing where punctuation belongs helps to write with clarity and stronger voice, and correctly placed punctuation makes it easier for the reader to comprehend. Okay, so clauses and phrases. First, a clause. It's a group of related words containing a subject and a verb. That's important. There are two types of clauses, independent and dependent clauses. Okay, independent clauses are on its own, they make sense. They don't need any assistance. A dependent clause is missing something. It doesn't make sense. So hence independent and dependent. So let's look at some examples of independent clauses. I saw the dog, the bird sang a song, driving was not easy for me, hitting the golf ball felt great. So let's look at the first example here. I saw the dog. Going to the definition, a clause is a group of related words containing a subject and a verb. And for an independent clause, on its own makes sense. I saw the dog. It's not the most descriptive sentence, but it is independent because it stands on its own. I is the subject, saw is the verb. Okay, and that makes perfect sense. Look at the second one. The bird sang a song. The bird is your subject. Sang is your verb. Therefore, it's an independent clause. It makes sense. Okay, so let's take a look and let's go a little further into dependent clauses. Remember, dependent clause is missing something. It doesn't make sense. When the Saints march in, what happens when the Saints march in? It's not finished. So it's incomplete. That is a dependent clause. Because she said so. Now, that's a sentence if you are a kindergartner, but generally that is a dependent clause. It's not able to stand alone. Okay? So let's look at phrases. A phrase is a group of related words, but it does not have a subject doing a verb. It may have a subject, all right, but it won't have that second part. So examples of a phrase, leaving behind the dog. Oh, wait a minute. Who's the subject? There's no who's leaving the dog behind. All right, no subject. Smashing into a fence. Who smashed into the fence? After the storm. What happens after the storm? What are we talking about? So these are examples of phrases. They aren't even close because they are missing a subject that's doing a verb. All right? So there's no subject in these sentences. In these phrases. Whereas in the clauses, you have usually a subject that's being done, something, but it just whether it makes sense or not. Those are the two tricks with the clauses. All right, so let's do some identification. So I need you to look at the examples and identify if it's a clause or a phrase, and if it's a clause, is it dependent or independent? So let's take a look. So the child hit the tree. Is that a phrase or a clause? That's an independent clause. Oberon enjoyed his meal. Is that a clause or a phrase? Well, look at the sentence. Is there a subject? Is there a verb? If there is, it's not a phrase. Independent clause. Smiling at the house. Is there a subject that is smiling at the house? It's a phrase. Since she was wrong. Okay, do you have a subject? Do you have a verb? Is it a complete thought? It's a dependent clause. Falling from the sky. Do we know what's falling from the sky? No, that's a phrase. Avie screamed when she was put down. So subject, is there a verb? Okay, so just to give you an example of how to do these. So there's a quick mini lesson for you. Thank you.